Hey everyone, Ben Bolt here again. Two videos in one day, I know, it's crazy. Um, it's been a pretty eventful day. Earlier I uploaded a video explaining the situation with what was going on with Fusionfall Retro, as the game, the website, the Twitter page, the YouTube page, everything related to Fusionfall Universe was effectively getting shut down. Um, well, things have happened since then. And in short, it was announced today that the Fusionfall Universe team got a DMCA, or Digital Millennium Copyright Act, from Cartoon Network Incorporated, and the entire project is shut down permanently for the foreseeable future. The terms of the DMCA claim have not been made public by either Cartoon Network or the Fusionfall Universe team, but it's unlikely we're going to be seeing a return of Fusionfall Retro or the never released Fusionfall Legacy as they were intended to. Um, this is obviously very upsetting for just about everyone involved, from the community team members like myself, or sorry, no, the community members like myself, to the community team, to and especially to the devs that have poured a huge amount of time, energy, resources, and much, much more into a fan project that they weren't even making money off of to begin with. Um, and you're probably wondering what happened. A lot of people are not in the know still. The news has been spread around pretty good, but some people are still in the unknown or know the full details of what happened. So I'm going to be telling you what happened to a degree. There's some members that I cannot talk about, and this is mostly due out of respect for the Fusionfall Universe team, the dev team, as they have stated they don't want anyone to go out and like go on a witch hunt against anyone, especially Cartoon Network, for example, or the individual responsible for the whole shutdown. And yes, you heard that right. It was because of one individual. And I'm going to be going over this. But to explain what was going on, CN, Cartoon Network, never had a problem with the Fusionfall Retro really to begin with. They weren't making a profit off of it. They weren't claiming any of the characters as their own. They were giving all proper rights to Cartoon Network and Time Warner and all that. Turner Cable, whatever it's called. And there's no official statement as to why the claim was made. But the individual the individual responsible has been found. He made himself known in the community while everyone was freaking out over this response. And I'm not going to name him or tell you how you can get in contact with him, out of respect again for what the Fusionfall Universe team have asked. But his actions do need to be known in the case that, I don't know, maybe someone shares this to Cartoon Network and their PR team, because they do need to know this. They've been lied to, essentially. And sorry, I have a lot of notes for this. But just to inform you what happened, the individual's already been like blasted off the face of the earth with just an immense amount of hatred from the Fusionfall community, because it was one guy, and what he did was unacceptable. Because he acted selfishly to an entire community filled with thousands upon thousands of players, and that's not right. Just not right at all. But you may be wondering how he did this. Well, basically he was more or less upset that his suggestions were getting brushed off by the devs, the developers from the Fusionfall Universe team. Yeah, he's that petty. But these are suggestions that I know of. This is all just from what I'm able to find, by the way. I feel like I should mention that. But I have a pretty complete story. But his suggestions included adding a crafting system, so Minecraft or something like that, the crafting system, to the games. Obviously, this doesn't sit well. It doesn't format well at all, really, with the game itself. The closest we have to a crafting system in the games is the crockpot, which is just taking one item with its looks, another item with its stats, and giving the stats of that item, so like the damage or the defense that it gives, and applying it to the looks of that armor or item or whatever. And he also wanted them to release both the tools and the data needed to build upon the game and run it yourself. They denied both of these, obviously, for different reasons. Like I said before, the crafting system doesn't really fit into the feel of the game at all in any capacity. And the game already takes a full team of individuals to run and build upon it, since it uses an old version of Unity that is already incredibly hard to use, and only one member of the team knew how to navigate the whole system without major issues or causing the entire game to die, or their dev build of the game to die. The individual also stated that they weren't updating it anymore, and that was another reason why he was upset. This simply wasn't true. The devs did say that they were suspending updates to the game temporarily a few days ago, with the announcement of Devin and a few others like Dogon and I believe Woe Mayhem leaving the project, and they were just suspending updates indefinitely until they found new members, which they were on. They were doing. They were finding new members to replace them. That way, they could continue updates with Fusionfall Retro. And it was also revealed that they had their plans all figured out. Woe Mayhem was going to stay as he was the lead coder for the game, and until he said he was gonna pull the game out of the beta and make Fusionfall Retro, a complete game. He was planning on staying until it was finished. They were done updating it, and then they would switch gears completely over to Legacy. Now we're never gonna see that, and the devs have stated that they might plan on releasing the content that they planned individually to their own personal YouTube channels, Twitter, and other social media outlets. So look forward to that. But it takes a full team to run a game. It's incredibly hard to keep a server up and running. Aside from the cost of one, you can't make a profit off of it, because that goes beyond the legal abilities of you to be able to do. The Fusionfall Universe team did this almost perfectly. They were within their legal rights. It was a fan-made project. They admitted this. They knew this. They never claimed any of the characters as their own. So opening it up like that to the public would have been trouble. That it would have made the game a bit harder to play. Some people would add things that would be crazy in theory, like crafting, for example, and it just would completely backfire, because that doesn't belong in a Fusionfall game. The individual also claimed that the devs were up on a pedestal and needed to be taught a lesson, whatever that meant. This was mostly in relation to what he said about how they were suspending updates for the game, for Fusionfall Retro. He completely misunderstood what they were saying and just took it to the extreme. So how did he get the game shut down, you may be wondering. I've explained that's a word. I've explained extensively why he had hatred against the Fusionfall Universe team. How did he do it? Well, very simply, unfortunately. He created a bunch of burner emails accounts and got a VPN so that he could change his IP address and continue to spam the crap out of Cartoon Network with emails saying that the communities was run by or had, and young children, cover your ears for a second here, pedophiles in the community, so that's always fun. And that the Fusionfall Universe team was making a profit off the game. So of course, Cartoon Network responded by sending this out because they didn't want their brand to be associated with, the first part. At first point, no one would, understandably so. So that's why CN isn't the bad guy here. Their hand was kind of forced and they were lied to. But the whole them making a profit off of Fusionfall Universe is a complete lie. Any profits that the team made was from their own personal jobs, separate from the game entirely. And anything from their Patreon accounts that they made, such as Devin and Dogan, they made a Patreon account called D&D, because Devin, Dogan. And it was for them individually, not for the game itself. People could donate to them, saying that their donation was to help with Fusionfall Retro servers or Fusionfall Legacy, but I have a hard time believing that they would use that money for the servers. Because then they're stepping outside their legal boundaries, and they wanted to keep the game up and running as long as they possibly could. It would be horrifically stupid of them to spend that money on the game, because then all of a sudden you're outstretching your legal, ability and risking it shut down. And again, this was for them. Those Patreon accounts were for them individually, for their individual projects, not for the game itself. I'm going to scroll down here. Almost done. And like I said before, the first point I made was completely absurd. I never saw this in action, so even if it was a problem, it was obviously dealt with swiftly by the community team, and it was just done and dealt with. Never became a huge issue, I don't think. Because, this is a kids' game community. The game is made for kids. Of course, you don't want those kind of individuals in your community for obvious reasons, very obvious reasons. I've seen people get removed from the game for less. I've seen people get removed for just deciding to hack the game and give themselves a speed hack or something, or duplicate items. The individual also supposedly had screenshots of all of this, and it was enough to light a fire underneath Cartoon Network's bum, and that's what got them to file the DMCA against the Fusionfall Universe team, and it's effectively taken down the game for the foreseeable future. Forever, really. We have no confirmation if there's any way for us to play it again, even as an offline single-player game. We have no idea if Cartoon Network is going to do anything with the Fusionfall IP. It looks like that the game is just basically going to sit on a shelf and collect dust, unfortunately, which is very sad, because there's a lot of potential you could do with this. For crying out loud, make a TV show out of it or something, Cartoon Network. There's so much potential. But yeah, as grim as all this is, the community is still together. We're still working through this. And I'm going to encourage, what the Fusionfall Universe team has been saying this entire time as well. Don't go on a witch hunt against Cartoon Network. They're not the bad guys here. They're just, they don't want their brand to be associated with those claims that the individual made. And don't go on a witch hunt for this individual, as the community already has, kind of. Like I said earlier, he basically got wiped off the face of the earth with the amount of, just angry fans from the community that were justifiably upset at him for ruining an entire game. And it's horrible, because, they've spent years, a lot of us have spent years with this game. I myself, I've played this game since I was 9 when it went free to play. Originally, I was so sad when it got shut down, because I missed it entirely. So when I heard that it was getting, redone again, I was like, oh, cool, I can play it again. That's awesome. And I enjoyed it. I made a ton of friends. There are many people's lives who got impacted hugely by Fusionfall. And, for example, I know of a couple that met in the game, and they got married in real life a couple years later. They're still a couple to this day. They're a Fusionfall couple. But it just sucks seeing this all go down. I mean, Devin, for example, the previous project lead, he officially stepped away from the team last week. He stated in Prizzy's Discord server, and I quote here, "It does suck. This was close to half my life." This just goes to show that, for Devin especially, I feel for the guy. He was more mentally prepared than the rest because he left the project officially about a week ago. But he spent he's been working on this game since I think 2011, 2012, right after the game went down, and that was after he was playing the game for years. Many of us are in this situation where we don't really know what's going to happen to Fusionfall going forward, and we may never know. We may never see another game like Fusionfall again, and that's really unfortunate because there's a lot of potential here, and it had a huge fan base, and it was being built by fans that genuinely cared about the project. Boosted a lot of them up in life and has helped them find jobs outside of the game. And it's just really sad that we're not going to see anything of this anymore. I'm going to miss Fusionfall immensely. I think the thing I'm going to miss most is the Megas Nano, which, for those who don't know, the Nanos were basically just little chibi Cartoon Network characters that you could have that helped you along the game that you got whenever you leveled up. And he was my favorite. Giant robot all of a sudden just shrunk down and had stealth that you could just wander away from the higher level monsters. It's my favorite. It was great. But yeah, we don't know if Fusionfall is going to make a return in its future. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But all we can do is just stick together as a community and remember the good times, really. Unfortunately, this is a chapter of our lives that has come to an unfortunate close. So, if Cartoon Network does see this, know that you were lied to by an individual who was just upset that his recommendations to the game didn't get added and was so butthurt about it that he decided to go and ruin the fun for a community of well over 2,000 people. You have a fan base for this game. Use it. Use it wisely. So, yeah, that's really all I got for you guys. Ciao.